Hey, Much Woman family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, afternoon. It's lunchtime, y'all. And I hope all of you all who are waiting and been waiting to sit with us, I hope that you are now, right now, at lunch. You got something to eat. You ready to hang out. You hanging out and got stuff to do. Also, just want to let you know, as I'm getting things started here, just want to let you know if you ever have any questions throughout our time together, please send those. I have my phone right here. I am looking at those questions. So if you have anything, please put those in the chat. We will be so excited to answer those. So, all right. Y'all, I cannot wait to introduce to y'all two of my favorite friend girls. Look at these beautiful women right here.
Thank you.
Y'all.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having us.
I am so very pleased to have Dr. Jill Zambito and Dr. Jada Russell here with me. These are my two friends. I know I'm introducing them very formally because I just want to, but they are my incredible friend girls, and I do lunch with them. I do lunch with Jill and Jada, and we all work together. We work at the university together and work in different departments and things like that. But one of the things that I love about these two women so much is that when we get together in lunch, we lunch. Not only do we eat, and we try to find, Jill's really good at like introducing you to new restaurants and things like that. Jada and I, we got our spot.
Yes, we do.
We got this one spot we go to, and we go eat together, and we do not talk about work. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, rarely.
Agree.
Like, I mean, and not that anything is wrong with talking about work, right? You know, because sometimes you might need to chat a little bit about a situation or a circumstance. You might need some perspective. But what's always been so wonderful for me is that I get to hang out with y'all and we get to talk about our lives and who we are as women. And that means so much to me. So thank you so much for giving me that. And you all have given me that for 5 years now. I cannot believe I've been here for 5 years. And when you all introduce and share a little bit more about yourself, if you want to, talk about how long you've, been working, things like that. But we're here to talk about, I have my little cue card, y'all. We are here to talk about what it looks like to pause, to heal, and to reset, and why those things are not optional, but they're essential. So these women, they have amazing, different stories and amazing stories about wellness, and we're going to explore all of that together. And so I do have some questions for you, and feel free to answer however you want to answer, but let's just have a conversation like we do at lunch. And even though, y'all, we don't have no food in front of us, we did just eat.
We did.
It was delicious. It was good.
Thank you. Thank you for feeding us.
Yes. We ate. So that's what we got to do. Okay. All right. So let's start with the pause. Jill, Jada, what does giving yourself permission to pause look like in life right now? Either one of you feel comfortable to start whenever you're ready.
Sure.
All right.
Well, thanks first off for having us here. This is a wonderful experience for us, and I'm hoping that we can share with others as I'll call it, an evolution.
Yeah.
A growing journey.
Yes.
So for me, pause was not something I saw modeled at home. It's not something that I grew up doing. Oh. My grandmothers, my mother were always working, always caretakers, always giving. They rarely, went to go get their nails done or had the opportunity to go get hair, massage. My mom still would not get a massage. Now she finds it uncomfortable. But those things were not things that I saw modeled. So for me, I had to learn or relearn what is a pause or what is a break. Because for me growing up, a break meant that I was weak or that I'm not strong enough to continue on. And for me, I'm learning that I don't necessarily deserve a break. It's not something that I earn, but it's something that is essential. It's something for me. It's something for me to continue moving forward and continue growing and going. And you can't continue pouring from an empty cup.
That is so right. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Jill, you have any thoughts on that? What does pause look like for you?
Yeah, I think it depends on the time of day, honestly. So I'm thinking of like some wellness habits, and I'm hoping that we can talk about making pausing a habit so that it's not like this privileged thing that we aspire to do, that it's just a part of our daily practice. But for me, it is being intentional about my time. And so whether that's grabbing coffee with a colleague or a friend or going to lunch and actually just talking about life. Sometimes it might be at work if I'm dealing with something that's super stressful, knowing that my body and my mind need a break afterward. And so I literally will either go solo or I'll walk through my suite at work and say, does anyone need to be walked? And for anyone who wants to join, we'll go on a quick walk just to get a few steps in. And also like to shift your frame of mind. So like you can be done with something and kind of start anew. I think pausing also could mean for me exercising or like going to a yoga class. It could also mean going to see a doctor, right? Like it could be so many different things.
Oh, go ahead, Jada.
You mentioned going for a walk, and I think people know me by now working on campus. I've been on campus. I arrived in Knoxville in 2004 as a student, and I started working, a few years ago. And I started working at the University of Tennessee in 2009. And that is a practice that I've tried to maintain is go for a walk. So I have my tennis shoes underneath my desk.
Oh, nice.
And I found that when I began to pause and intentionally take myself out for a walk, it helps to release stress. So then it became a part of my self-care routine. So like you were saying.
Yeah, it's a habit.
It's a habit. Yeah. So making it a habit now, I look forward to it. People also know that I'm going to have that time carved out to do it. So if I don't do it, now my colleagues will come and find me and say, is everything okay? I haven't seen you walking in a while. So that's something that I feel that has made it helpful for me.
Yeah. And do people join you or do you prefer? Okay.
Some people join me. Sometimes I put my headphones on and talk with my mom, give her an update on the kids, or sometimes I want to intentionally not engage and I want to hear the birds chirping. I usually do that early in the morning. I will go walking around my neighborhood around 6:30 before it's time to get out the house, before everyone gets moving, if I can, just to go outside, connect with nature. I'm really big about connecting with nature.
Cool.
Listen, love this. So can y'all see why these my friend girls? My favorite friend girls, because of this right here, because of this kind of, thought process, like knowing what it's like to take care of yourself, like that's okay. So that leads me to my next question. And please feel free to continue the banter as we've been doing. Okay. Remember, we had lunch. So was there ever a time when slowing down felt like a failure to you? I know you mentioned that a little bit, that, it made you feel weak, but I want both of you to share about what changed that mindset. Like if slowing down felt like failure, why?
Yeah. Do you have thoughts? Okay. I think for me, it was early on in my career, and my professional identity is probably one of my most salient identities, which is maybe a good thing and maybe a bad thing, depending on the day. And I think I learned habits as an undergrad and as a graduate student that then translated into my first position. And they weren't helpful habits, but they were habits that I witnessed my mentors taking on. And so I just thought that was like the only way forward. Like you had to work 80 hours a week to be successful. And then luckily quickly realized that that's not the case, and it's not sustainable and it's not healthy. And I want to give some credit, if I can, to one of my first bosses in my first professional position out of grad school. He became my boss, I think, like the second year I was at this institution. And he told me, Jill, my approach to working with employees as it relates to taking vacation or annual leave is that you should never have to ask for permission to take it. And just hearing him say that, I think as a young professional, it really hit home for me, because I felt kind of fearful of asking, can I take vacation? And he was like, you earn your vacation, you earn your sick time. As long as your work is covered and your staff is supported, like take care of yourself. And he has no idea what an impact that conversation had on me, but all that to say, he helped undo some of those bad habits where I identify with being an overworker, right? But it's not something that we should elevate, I don't think.
Well said.
I will dovetail on that comment about overachieving, and I consider myself very ambitious because that's how we have been so successful, right? We see the challenge, we gladly, graciously accept the challenge. We want to continue striving, and I think CJ and I were talking about this probably a couple of weeks ago at lunch about this idea of striving, and striving is great, and you want to have motivation, but then you also want to have a time for care, and they don't always coexist, or we don't really realize how they can coexist until we take a minute to pause to think through that. And it's okay, because in anything in life, you would water it, you would feed it, you would take care of it. In any other aspect of our life except for ourselves, we don't always do that. So I began to approach it in that way. And when I approach it in that way, I feel less guilty taking a break. That is essential. It's a part of me caring for myself.
I love that you share that, and thank you both. And I want to be honest here. I am still figuring this out, which is why I love when we go to lunch. I get to learn from you, and you kind of share these things with me, and it's why I love y'all so much, because you both have given me the opportunity to pause, I really am. And it's hard. It's really hard. And honestly, and for those of you all that have been tracking with Much Woman for the last year now, you probably know. You've maybe watched the episode with my personal therapist, Brian Humphreys, Dr. Brian Humphreys. He was here. And I have had to go back and see him, not because it's any, I just needed he told me, he said, even if you need like a Tylenol or something. He was like, if you feel like you got a headache, just come see me. Well, I felt like I had a headache and I wouldn't seen him. But we were talking yesterday, he and I were talking yesterday, and we were talking about just being. And I said, Brian, I don't know if I know how to just be. I don't know if I know how to just be. And so we were talking through that and what that looks like. So I want to tell y'all that, kind of hold me accountable. So next time we do lunch, we need to talk about CJ learning how to just be, because I do feel the guilt. I do feel like I'm going to lose something, if I don't, if I'm not constantly
Striving.
Doing something. I feel like, well, does this mean I'm not working? Does this mean, and so that is one of the things that, is this is why this is so important to me to talk about this, because I know that it's very real for people. And so I wanted to ask you both, how do you recognize when you're operating on empty? And you both have given us some practical things of things you do, but how do you know, like, okay, I'm empty right now? How do you know that?
Oh, so my body will shut down. I will have a headache. My back, I carry a lot of my stress in my body, and I notice I have limited movement. Oh, wow. And that will be my first sign to stop, schedule a massage, get some me time, connect with nature. And if I begin to ignore it, it will get worse. And I have had a chiropractor, I have a massage therapist, but eventually, you have those appointments on your calendar you mentioned earlier, and then work starts. And you begin to cancel those appointments because you're trying to strive at work. And then you get further behind and you look up and realize you have this account that now has 3 massages available because you haven't used them. So those are some of my signs to know I need to stop. And thankfully, my work environment is very supportive of that, because I think we have all realized, we're at this point in our life where we all have realized we need to care for one another. And when we do that, we begin to have more excelling to occur. We are functioning better as a group. when that occurs. And I call those sessions with my counselor a tune-up.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I need a tune-up. I also share that with my students. Sometimes you need a tune-up. Sometimes you have your maintenance, right? And everything's going well. But just like with the car, if you have a flat tire, if you have something to happen in an emergency situation that you did not foresee coming, then you may need a tune-up. And that's what I'll tell my therapist. I need a tune-up.
Yeah.
And she will usually prioritize our time together to get to me.
That's so
great.
good. How do you know when you're on empty, Jill?
I think for me, I resonate with what Jada was saying, that my body shuts down just maybe in a different way. Like I'm more prone to illness when I'm on E. The other part, if my husband were here, he would say I'm an extreme extrovert. And so I really derive energy from other people, and I always want to be in the presence of others. And so when I'm on E, I might say to him, I don't want to see anyone right now, or like I want to cancel social plans, and that's like a red flag, I think, in our family. Jill doesn't want to see people, so
Something's wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm still trying to, like, I know I am very social too, and love to, I think it's like, I am really still learning this, really like, okay, when am I on E? Because I can just go. Y'all, I can go. It was so funny. I was talking to my best friend, and she and I were talking about her coming for this weekend, 4th of July. And I was like, I get back, as you all know, I just got back from Japan. And I said, I'll get back from Japan, 1 a.m. on Friday. It's like, yeah, we can go to Dollywood on Friday. Like, I got, like, my plane landed and I didn't get home till 1 a.m. on Friday. And I was planning to go to Dollywood, y'all. So she texted me, I think Sunday. She said, how you feeling? And I was telling her. And she said, what if we would have went to Dollywood, CJ? I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe. So just to give you some examples, that's me. Oh, if the day is open, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, okay, you just were 13 hours ahead. I'm like, the day is open. I'm just going to do this. So, y'all, I need some accountability.
Yeah, I'm glad that you regrouped on that one.
Yes.
Well, we decided before I left that Dollywood wasn't going to happen, but we didn't talk about it in terms of, are you going to feel okay? I think the schedule just didn't work out. But then she was like, how did you think about, I'm like, I don't even know why I was trying to go to Dollywood. But okay.
You were excited to see her.
Exactly. You were excited.
Yeah.
But that's
and you
what I
wanted
do.
To fill your cup.
Yes. But that's what I'll do, is that I won't, like, CortneyJo, you need time to rest.
You do.
And I didn't think that. You know what I mean? So I'll sleep on the plane. No, y'all. I'm still getting over the jet lag. So let's talk about the heal. So we just talked about the pause. We talked about pausing, what pausing looks like. You all talked about habits. One of the things I like to say is that practice makes permanent, not practice makes perfect. So if we put something into practice, it becomes permanent. So if we practice pausing, it does become permanent in our lives. Let's talk about the heal, physical wellness. Can you share a time when you had to make a physical health decision for your well-being?
So the first thing that comes to mind with that question is something like, it's very literal. But in the fall, I was diagnosed with a health condition, and I'm okay. And you've been a part of my health journey. That condition has really made me think about my physical wellness differently. One of my symptoms is a racing heart. And so I physically can feel my heart racing when I don't think it should. And so kind of modifying my my movement, my exercise, my yoga practice, and just literally listening to my body. Again, it's a very literal interpretation, but it's something I'm very mindful and conscious of. And I think it's maybe made me understand other people going through health stuff too, and really encouraging people to listen to their body and trust your gut on something if it doesn't feel right. So
that's good, Jill.
Yeah.
Oh,
and thank you for your support.
And thank you for, I remember telling you when you were sharing that with me, I said, Jill, thank you so much for doing what you needed to do to take care of you. I think I was like hugging you, like, thank you for doing what you needed to do.
And I love that.
I'm one of them friends. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. I was so grateful. Like, thank you. Because sometimes, like you said, we can notice if even you're not trusting your gut, oh, it's nothing.
Right.
That's why I was thanking you so much that day for not ignoring it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So for me, I would just say to keep my appointments,
That's
schedule
great.
my appointments,
That's good,
and
Jada.
keep the appointments.
Yes.
With my PCP, my primary care physician, I have a nurse practitioner for my primary care, my dentist appointment, like making the appointments and keeping the appointments, I would say would be a part of my journey to health. And in that process, and my thoughts, I think of this idea of worthy. Sometimes we think, well, I can make this work. I can push this over. I need to get my spouse something. I need to get the kids something. And you move that appointment, you shift it.
Yep.
And for me, my husband would ask, why didn't you keep it? Why didn't you prioritize it? And when I had the opportunity to really dig deep, it was the idea of worthy. Like, am I worthy to keep this appointment? Well, it's really not that bad. It's really okay. I can keep pushing it off. So this summer, I finally went to a physical therapist for my knee. It's something that's been ongoing. I was in a fender bender car accident in 2020. I finally went 2025. So that's one of those things where you just keep pushing it off. It's okay. It's all right. I can still make it work. And when I had the opportunity to dig deep, that's where I think a lot of it was rooted in this idea of worthy. So we are all worthy, and we all need to keep our appointments, make our appointments and keep them.
Or reschedule them.
Or reschedule them if needed.
As soon as, because I think about, I had a work trip earlier this year and I had to reschedule a dentist appointment. I haven't rescheduled it yet. I'm like, I love my dentist appointments. I need to get back in there. Thank you for sharing that. So, you both can answer or you don't have to, but one or so. But why do you think that women often ignore the early signs of stress and burnout and fatigue? Why do you think we do that? I mean, Jada, you mentioned the worthiness. Any other thoughts to that?
For me, in my experience and talking to others, I think it's culturally, we as women have been taught that we can absorb, we can continue, we can move forward. And I notice even for myself, when I'm super stressed, I could be really nervous. I don't necessarily present myself, so I don't show up that way physically. I don't appear to be nervous or stressed, but I'm really am nervous and stressed. So then more gets added, right, to your plate, and eventually it becomes a part of your habit. And I've now learned I'm at capacity, like learning the words and communication to articulate how I'm feeling at that moment. I may not appear to be very stressed, but I am very stressed right now. Perhaps we can revisit this at a later date. I'm at capacity right now. So I think culturally, boundaries are not something that I learned to create. I've heard of them, but I didn't know how to create them when they were needed, and then how to articulate a boundary. So now that I feel like I have the communication skill set to do that and awareness, I think I've been improving to let others know when I'm at capacity. And then we all recharge differently. Like you mentioned earlier, I'm an extrovert as well, and I want to go to the event. I want to see the people. I want to go to the event, and I leave feeling recharged, but then what does that look like? Sometimes it may be contextual. I do want to go for this one. I don't want to go for that one. And it's okay. Like it's okay for me to be okay.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to look a certain way. Consistency is great. And I think sometimes people are expecting us to have this type of consistency to show up in these spaces. But sometimes I may not want to show up in that space in the same way I did the last time. And that's okay. It's all right.
That's really okay. I loved when we were having lunch last time and you were telling me that you were learning that. You was like, I don't have to go to everything. And I'm like, that's so good. Did you have any thoughts on that? Or
I would say ditto. And then when you were talking about boundaries, I thought it was interesting how you talked about it from a language standpoint. I do think that it's kind of a newer concept to talk about. Like people have had boundaries, right, forever, but we talk about having boundaries differently. Like using the word boundary is kind of, I think, a newer endeavor. So that was just interesting when you were saying, I was like, oh, that's kind of a new thing to talk about, you know?
is.
But it's something to embrace.
It is something to embrace.
Yeah.
And when I think about consistency, one Thanksgiving I may want to host. I want to have everyone over. The next Thanksgiving I may just want to attend. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right.
That's good.
Giving you permission
Yeah.
to show up in the space the way that best fits you at that time.
That's good. I love that.
So are
we
you
just-
going to
go,
host us
please.
this fall?
Nope.
I'm kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
I love it. So we just talked about the heel. Jill, I know you do yoga.
Yeah.
And do you do some things? I know you walk.
Exercise, I do my walks. I have done yoga before. How often do you do yoga?
The goal is minimally 3 times a week.
Okay, amazing.
Can I shout out my yoga studio?
Yes, please.
Yoga Central. It's right around the corner from the
Yes.
studio.
And I've gone with Jill before, and she is such a beautiful pro. I was sitting there like trying to figure it out.
But
and
that's the
she
beauty
was
of
like,
yoga. It doesn't
yeah.
matter.
I love that. You're right. And that was good. One of the things that I like to do that I have not been able to do is go skating, go roller skating.
Okay.
And I love to go roller skating.
Yes.
Jade, I
Let's
don't know
set
if
a
I told
date.
you this.
You have never shared this.
We're going. We're totally going.
I'm going roller skating. So it is my jam. And I was going consistently for about a year and then work. All the things started happening and it has now been a year and a half since I have been roller skating. Sometimes I live in a cul-de-sac, so sometimes I get out there. I have an outside pair of skates and I have an indoor pair of skates. And I know my neighbors be like holding their coffee, looking out the window like that lady right there. Like she just rolling around in the cul-de-sac with her roller skates on. But I love to roller skate.
Let's do it.
So we do want to encourage listeners, come up with something. So Jill does yoga. Jada, she works out and walks, and I roller skate.
Yes.
So find your thing. Find your thing.
Yeah.
All right. The reset. Let's talk about the reset. Spiritual connection, wholeness. I wanted to ask you, how do you practice giving yourself grace when you're not doing all the things? You just alluded to that a little bit, Jada. How do that and what does spiritual reset look like for you?
So the idea or concept of grace, I think as a child was something that you've heard about in the church or you've heard about in context with someone else, but rarely with yourself. So I've been trying to do a plunge on grace myself. And that has given me the space to do more self-care, more self-work. Because if you think about it, even Jill, what I talked about earlier about us being so ambitious and we, pursue our degrees, that was also a time wwhen we were investing in ourselves. And we were okay with investing in ourselves in that way. And that took years, hours, days, months.
It did.
And you sacrificed a lot to dig deep in that. But that's something that's culturally, acceptable. It's okay. You applaud it. It's not something that people tend to shun in my culture anyway, for where I am right now. But the idea of self-care, how long is the massage? Well, how long were you going to be going to yoga? And how many days are you going to be going there? How much is your subscription? What's going on? It's like all these questions begin to flow and you feel like you need to validate all of those questions, but just stopping and pausing and knowing that you are worthy and you give grace and extend grace to others and you are worthy of that same grace. So, and then for the spiritual connection, I have my daily devotional. And then I also just, like I said, I really enjoy nature. I feel like that's my time to really have conversation with Christ, to really talk to see where do I need to grow. And I feel like I have an openness to growing. Previously as a new career person, every year I do usually do my resolutions around January and then July around my birthday. And, previously I've always included something career-wise or, maybe something with the family. But now I'm trying to add on these other virtues. Like what are some other things that I really can work on, like patience, kindness, self-love for yourself. Yes.
Yes.
So those are my things that I'm really thinking about. And as I'm thinking about self-love, I read a quote that talked about your first love should be yourself. And I had never thought about it in that way. And spending time to get to know myself. So therefore, I now know what I need, and then I can articulate that to my circle, like my village that has offered help. People offer help, but I don't know what I need. So now I'm working on finding out what I need, sharing what I need, delegating what I need.
Good. That's so good. That is nice.
I should be taking notes.
I know.
Right?
Where's the pen? That was good.
For me, the practice of giving myself grace, I think part of it is also like celebrating the pause, the moment, however you want to define it. Celebrating it for myself, but then also of others. So like, we're not in this competition of like, who's the busiest. Like that competition is not a competition I want to be a part of at all. I don't even want to touch it. Amen. So if someone is talking about their vacation, I want to go deep with them.
I want to see the pictures.
Yes. Like, let's embrace it. Let's normalize it. Like, it shouldn't be this, I don't know, that like we all should take time for ourselves in whatever way that looks like, whether it's an hour or a week and a half away on an Alaskan cruise. I don't know.
She just did.
I know.
It's amazing.
Same thing with my employees, not to talk about work again, but I think like kind of going back to Jada's point, if we're role modeling it, it's in all aspects of our life. And so if our staff want to take a moment celebrating that and like giving them support or permission or whatever the thing is so that they can feel like they can go and be healthy so that they can then come back and be happy at work, it all kind of translates. So really embracing the pause and like finding joy in it, knowing that the work, whatever the work is, whether it's personal, your home stuff or work stuff, it's always going to be there tomorrow, right? So we got to let go. We got to let go of it. And then the reset, I also agree, like nature is a great reset for me. Over the weekend, my husband and I and some friends went on a really beautiful hike. I'd highly recommend it. Happy to share. And there were waterfalls. So it just felt like super joyful. And then when we got to the top of I guess it was a small mountain hill, you can just see the horizon and kind of taking that awesomeness and the true sense of the word awesome in is super powerful. And for me, it is a reset. Like I am connected to this earth. I am connected to this land. It's just beautiful. So
it is. That sounds so beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you. It was like, I was like seeing it as you were sharing it. I was seeing it.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it. Okay. I love hiking, by the way.
And I will say, I will echo your thoughts about enforcing it at work. So when I returned from my Alaskan cruise, my boss and I had lunch, and it was amazing. She wanted to see the pictures. She wanted to hear about the food. She wanted to hear about the excursions. And for me, that was a wonderful opportunity for her to celebrate me. So that culture can exist and give people space so that the next time you say you're going to go on vacation, there's no guilt.
Yes.
As long as the work has been done, you have properly planned for this experience, and you've delegated to or assigned someone to do work in your absence, I think that will allow all of us to breathe.
Yes.
But I know I have previously been in other environments where, like I said, if you want to go on vacation, you want to go somewhere, how many days?
Yeah.
How long?
Yeah.
And you want to come back at 1 a.m. and as soon as you take a break for 3 or 4 hours, you want to clock in. And you won't be the best CJ in that moment.
No.
You will
I
not be
would've
the best
been-
CJ
Oh
in
my
that
gosh.
But shout out your boss because not everyone has that same approach. So
Yeah.
that's great.
That is great. We do have an audience question.
Oh, yes, do it.
Yeah, I know. Audience question. I'm so glad for this. So the question is, it says, how long would you say it has taken for these practices or habits of rest to stick in your life?
That's a great question.
Great question.
I think for me, I would say it depends, like on the season of life. So when Jada was referencing our doctoral work, things shift, right? And so I remember during my dissertation, and maybe this will resonate with you, I remember the pause being that after I wrote X number of pages, I would allow myself to do a load of laundry, right? So like I made the pause something that was fulfilling, but not necessarily rejuvenating, but like you had to work with you just wanted to get it done. And so like at different phases of my life, I think that has changed. I think now I have a better balance in my life than I ever have, honestly.
good.
Yeah.
That's
and maybe
good.
some of it comes with age.
Yeah.
I would say it has evolved. And I think it varies on where you are in life, this time you have available. Your seasons change. In college, I remember to go get a massage would have happened maybe once a year. Like it wouldn't have been something that I could have done on a daily practice. So I had a tennis ball that I would use.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the financial resources, didn't have a car to go get a massage. But I still could feel it.
Yeah.
So just adapting to what that looks like. And then even if you could have a small budget plan for your self-care. That's something that I've learned that I needed to do. And it's okay that I have a budget for my self-care.
Yes, let's celebrate that.
Let's celebrate that. That subscription to go to have your yoga, my subscription to get my massage, nails, hair, whatever it is with self-care.
Yes.
Having that time to dedicate the resources, the financial resources, the time. And if you need family support to watch your children or you need, like you said, a time away to go do a hike, whatever it is, to know that you're going to be a better person after you've invested in yourself.
Hey, man, you're so right. And I love how you may mention that, even if, making budgeting for time for yourself, even if it's just a little bit, even whatever that thing may be, if it's just enough for the nails, do it. Whatever it does that make you feel happy, feel good about yourself. We encourage, definitely invest in that.
Yes.
One of the things that has been new for me as of the last 3 years, and you all know just some changes in my life. I never, I shared this openly with it was I think 150 women in this room. And I shared openly, I said, y'all, I looked up and it had been 10 years since I had been to a hair salon. It had been 10 years since I had walked into a hair salon. And that was terrible. So since, just changes in my life, I have made a habit. I'm like, I get my nails done. I'm going to get my nails done. It was something I never did before. Never got my nails done before. So it's really new. So I just encourage, if this is new for you, it's okay. It just started for me 3 years ago. I'm 40, almost 41 now, but just started for me three and a half years ago, where I started just slowly putting some things into routine. And I think it's the best thing to do, as you both are saying. It's the thing to do. So oh my goodness, we're almost coming to the end, the latter part of our time together. But I do have just a couple more questions for you before we get there. So, and I'm just gonna ask all three of these questions, and you can answer whichever one you want to answer. So one question is, what are you currently unlearning about rest or wellness? What lies have you believed about your worth being tied to your output? That's me all day, y'all. How are you learning to love yourself without conditions? Without conditions. And you can pick one of these questions and answer.
So the question that that kind of hits me the closest or the most in a most impactful way is the unlearning. And it goes back to this, it's not a competition. Health and wellness, not a competition. Overworking, not a competition, right? Like we really need to focus on what Jada was saying. Like we all need to take care of ourselves in the way that makes the most sense for us and maybe our families too, or our family, as I like to say. And so figuring out what that looks like for you, what does success look like for you, and how is health and wellness a part of that success, and kind of flipping the script a little.
Lovely. Sorry, we do have some audience questions too, but did you have a response really quick? I think y'all might want to hear these.
Please.
It's a couple of them. Sorry, I just saw these. So 2 questions, y'all. And one is, what kind of advice can you share for caregivers and having to have a healthy balance? Someone that's caring for someone else. I asked the second question next, but what kind of advice can you share for caregivers and having a healthy balance? You're taking care of someone else, maybe someone that's ill.
Pouring.
Yeah.
Constantly pouring.
Yes.
I was with someone and I cannot remember who I was engaged with in conversation. But they said, I've spent 20 years as a caregiver, and they were talking about their parent needing care, and then when their parent transitioned, they became the primary caregiver for their grandparent. Then they became married, then they had children. It was 20 years of caregiving. And I think for me, initially, the idea of caregiving was, or something I've learned from my family, is something that you do. You pour into this person 150%, right? But you don't know how long you're going to be in that role. I think when we think of children, we see it as a limited duration. They usually will transition out 18 if they're able body and get out on their own. But if you're caregiving for a loved one, for, they maybe have limited capacities to do things on their own because of something that has happened, or age, a health condition, you don't know how long that's gonna continue. It could be 5 years, and you do 5 years, and you do, oh my gosh, you did 5 years, and you did great, and you want to receive these praises. But it could be 10, it could be 15, and I think sometimes people find themselves like, it's almost like holding your breath to breathe, but you need to breathe. Like,
That's a good one.
you have to breathe. So finding out when you can breathe, coordinating, like I said, you might have to coordinate sometimes if you are the primary caregiver with someone else in that village, but you are worthy to receive that time. And when you come back, you are more rejuvenated. And then also, I think in my experience, there would be less anger and resentment for being in that space, because caregiving is something that you should celebrate. That's a wonderful thing to be able to do for someone, but it also should have some parameters, just like any relationship. Should have some parameters and boundaries in place. So finding the language to use and what works, finding that rhythm that works so that you can return in that caregiving role really ready to nurture. Because eventually you're pouring from an empty cup.
Yep.
And sometimes that caregiving can even can feel that as well. Sure. And then it becomes a burden.
Yes. That was really well said.
Copy paste.
That
was brilliant.
I love that copy paste. That was brilliant. And I love what you said about you need to breathe too, and you do. One of the things that I do well is I do every 6 to 8 weeks, I schedule in a rest break. I schedule in time to rest. Like this weekend, I'm scheduling this in. So for caretakers, everything that Jada says, so I'm just going to add a little bit to that, is that can you schedule it in? Maybe you can't do something weekly. That's okay. But if you can every 6 to 8 weeks, give yourself either one day, 24 hours or 48 hours where someone else is helping, but it's 6 weeks out, it's 8 weeks out. That way you have time to connect with someone else and say, hey, can you cover this 24, 48 hours for me? So that's good. Okay, another question. It says, I think you both will love this. It says, how can husbands and friends assist in supporting you with your self-care? how can the husbands and the friends do that in supporting you? I think that's a sweet, sweet question.
It is a sweet question. I mean, personally, because yoga is such a huge part of my life, I love that I get to practice with my husband once a week. And so he likes yoga, but he's a runner. Like that's his jam. But being able to do that with him, so figuring out what our health and wellness habits are individually, but then are there places where they overlap? So that's how it translates for me.
Oh, I love that.
I would say my husband is very supportive, and I am working on articulating my needs. So, I will notice like when my cup is running low, but stopping to pause because previously we've been striving.
Yeah.
We've been going. Like that, like writing your dissertation.
Yeah.
Okay, I still have an hour left. I can go ahead and write this next chapter. Okay, I can keep moving. And you want to see that progress. So my husband will say, what can I do to help? And I'm trying to now sit to reflect to be able to articulate what I need. So I would say from the spouse, patience in that I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to articulate it. I may not know what it is, but I know something's off. I know something's not working. And I shared with my dad while my sister and my dad and I were on an Alaskan cruise, even in my childbearing phase of life, I needed help, but I didn't know really how others could help me. Now that I'm out of that phase and I've been working with even some doulas, I now can articulate what I needed.
So could your husband ask you certain questions like, what do you need in this moment? I see how you're feeling. What do you need in this
And
moment?
I'm working to identify, like I said, really what is it that I need? How long do I need it? Sometimes it's just literally going outside for a walk for 15 minutes and I feel refreshed. But sometimes, you may go for that 15-minute walk and you may say, thank you, I appreciate that time, but I may need to go to sleep early tonight.
Yeah.
That's good. I think, just being asked, what do you need right now? I remember Jill and I, Jill was there for me. I was having a moment at work crying. And I don't know if you remember this specific moment, and I'll tell you afterwards. But the kindest thing Jill said to me was, what do you need right now in this moment? What do you need? I know you're coming down from something, you're upset, you're crying. What do you need? And so I think just that question. So husbands, friends, you can just ask that question. What do you need right now? What do you need in this moment? And I remember when you asked me that question, it was so sweet. I'm like, well, I don't know. I didn't know what I needed. And I think I needed a hug, and you gave me that. And maybe some coffee. And I think, we needed some coffee. You was like, we're going to get coffee. That's what we're about to go do. And so I think that if you ask that question, what do you need right now? And how can you participate in fulfilling that need? I think that's a great way to help support in the self-care. Okay, so we're going to do some closing takeaways. And I did just get a sweet text message from somebody that was watching and said, I needed to hear this today.
Oh, I just got the chills.
Yes, they said, thank you so much. I needed to hear this. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. So, because that was a sweet friend of mine who said she needed to hear this. So what's one thing you'd say to the woman listening? Or the fella, or I know sometimes we have some of our fellas watching. I love when the fellas are watching too. So what's one thing you would say to a woman or to a fella listening who feels like she can't afford to stop? What would you say to her?
I would say you are worthy. That would be the first statement. You are worthy, and to make progress. It can be daunting. It can feel overwhelming, this idea of self-care, especially if you've never practiced it, seen it modeled. You may be the one that's going to break the chain in the family, to the first one to break off, to go for a walk. It could really be taboo for some.
I know.
And if you're the first one doing that, just give yourself grace in the process. But you are worthy to start on this journey.
That's good.
There's so many things that I would say. I think one is listen to your body, because if you don't listen, you might have to deal with like larger repercussions. And so if you can take a pause early, it could kind of prevent a domino effect from happening. I think, especially for the mamas or folks that have families, like thinking about the folks that are watching you, like you can be such an amazing health and wellness role model if you do take a pause. And it doesn't have to cost money to take a pause if that's a factor that folks are concerned about. There are so many things that we could do for ourselves that are free. And yeah, like we deserve it.
Yeah, that's
It's
really
essential in us to take that moment, to take that break.
good. Yeah, I love that. It's essential. I'm going to have some closing thoughts, but I wanted to ask you one more thing. If you could fill in the blank. Liberation looks like
Sunshine.
sunshine. Liberation looks like sunshine.
Joy.
Oh, liberation looks like joy. And I would say liberation looks like peace. So, Jada, Jill, Jay-Z. I love you both so deeply, so much. And I couldn't be more grateful that you are in my life. You are two sister friends that life wouldn't make sense without you. Life wouldn't make sense without either of you. And I am so honored and blessed that you would give me some of your time today during your lunch hour. And I appreciate it. And thank you so much for all of your kindness and your words of wisdom that you've shared with our listeners today. I know that this particular show will be on repeat a lot. And thank you to everybody that was watching. Thank you to all of you all that were participating with us live. Thank you so much for the questions that you sent in. We sincerely appreciate your active engagement. Now, I just have one thing I want to say. I just want to do a little closing blessing to the woman listening and to some of the fellas that are listening too. So once again, thank you both.
Thank you.
So to every woman listening, may you give yourself the same grace you so freely offer to others. May you feel no guilt in pausing, no shame in healing, and no fear in resetting. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. May rest remind you that your worth is not in your work, but it's in your being. May your lunch breaks be sacred. May your laughter be medicine. And may your healing become holy ground. You are deeply loved, divinely helped, held, and completely free to live well. Sisters, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all. And if you want to hear anything else about the podcast or rewatch this, you can catch us at muchwoman.com. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay updated with the latest episodes of the podcast at muchwoman.com and tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever fine podcasts are available. We look forward to seeing you next time.